Hello, Sarah Sabin, transformational leadership and business coach, here today, continuing with my Leading in the Modern Way video interview series. And I am super excited to have with me today Randy Crabtree, who is the co-founder and partner of TriMerit. Randy, welcome. And would you like to introduce yourself briefly to my audience?
Sure. First off, Sarah, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm looking excited. I'm very excited about having this conversation. You did the intro, partner, TriMerit. Other things and TriMerit is just a tax consulting firm. We support tax preparers by bringing opportunities of saving their clients money. So they use us for that. But also, I host the Unique CPA podcast, which is talking about interesting things happening in the accounting profession. And I am very passionate about education. So I am constantly out trying to educate and learn on different topics from mental health to tax and anything in between.
That's awesome. And actually, a little known fact about me is I used to be a tax accountant in my former career life. So because I actually used to love tax. It's a very interesting area, I promise you, for anyone listening to this.
It is. We're going to have fun today.
We are. So today I would like to know more about your business journey, because you've been running TriMerit now for nearly 16 years, right?
You got it. Yes.
Yeah, so I'd love to hear a little bit more about some of your key learnings that you've had about entrepreneurship during that period.
Yeah, I love that question. I've probably been an entrepreneur my whole life. I just, I guess I didn't define myself that way. I don't know why, but I started my first business at age 16, which was a window washing company. I've learned things along the way, started my accounting firm, started a payroll firm, started a financial services firm, started a real estate development firm, all these things. But TriMerit's where I've learned the most. So this is, and it's probably something to do with age as well. I've been around a while now, so you learn things. But the biggest thing, probably the biggest thing I've learned, and the most important thing I've learned over the last 16 years now since we started TriMerit is I don't have to do everything. And sometimes that was one of my problems when I had my accounting firm. That was one of my biggest problems, is I had to touch everything. And it took, honestly, it took me having a stroke, which I had 9 years ago, to reevaluate. And I'm very fortunate. I am like what a stroke survivor should hope for. Everything works. I can use all my limbs. I can speak. I am very, very fortunate. But that stroke 9 years ago actually made me reevaluate what was important to me, not only, from personal standpoint, from a business standpoint, and look at my skill set. So in reality, when we started TriMerit, I'm really good at starting a business. I can do it. I can get it off the ground. I can grow it. But that gets to a point where the growth is so significant that I just don't have those skills. And so I realized that from the stroke, looking at this is like, okay, do I need to be running this firm? I mean, just because you start a business doesn't mean you need to run the business. And for me, it was, you know what? No, that's not where my passion is. As we talked before, my passion's more education and out speaking at events. And it took me a handful of years, but I realized that is not my role. And my partner took over that role, managing partner, in 2017, 6 years ago now. And he is completely suited for managing the growth, which I knew was coming. We knew significant growth was coming, and partly recovering from the stroke. Physically, it was easy. Mentally, was not as easy. And then thinking of this growth that was going to come, and we knew this growth was coming. I wasn't the right person. Looking back, I probably fought it a little because I thought my identity was managing partner. The biggest lesson I learned is that was not my identity. And you do not have to do everything. You can use your skills wherever they fit best, and your passion, not just your skills. But if you can intersect your passion and your skills, man, that is the amazing thing. So I'm sorry, long-winded answer, but that's probably the most important thing I've learned, is that, I don't have to do everything in the business.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And my gosh, there were so many diamonds in there, because it's something that I come across a lot when I'm working with entrepreneurs. It's that transition stage from starting a business, operationally running the business, to defining what the next stage of running that business looks like, whether that's moving into that strategic leadership role, or whether it is stepping back and re-exploring what is my zone of genius, which is what you were talking about, that intersection between what you're really good at doing and what you're really passionate about doing as well.
I like that. Zone of genius. Is that what you call it? I'm not going to call myself a genius, although people will tell you I might have that. I might think that way, whether it's true or not. But I love that term. I'm going to start using that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. But I mean, that's essentially what you were saying. I think I've just put it into a kind of snazzy format. But the other thing I heard as well is the importance of taking care of yourself on that journey, because a lot of us will work and work and work and work till the point we burn out, or in your case where your body says to you, right, no more, we need to stop and change the way that we do things. And I want to acknowledge you as well for taking that experience and learning from it and moving forward and using that as a springboard to really explore what the next phase of your working life looks like.
Yeah, it was, for me, when originally I changed from managing partner to whatever my new roles was, when I was still defining, I didn't have the role. I wasn't sure what it was. I was at a point where I was like, okay, well, I'm going to stick around 3 more years and then right off into the sunset. That's almost, well, it's 6 years ago now that change happened. I can't imagine stopping, because that I found that zone of genius, or I found that intersection. I love every single day what I'm doing. It's just so much fun and just having a great time. And honestly, I don't see stopping anytime at this point. I'll slow down, but I don't see stopping at this point, because it's just this passion intersection with my skills has been so fun.
So now that you're at the stage that you're at, what's the most pressing thing on your mind at the moment?
So I try not to have anything stressing on my mind, but pressing is probably a good question. Is just, how do we stay, I guess in reality, how do we stay true to what we are? I mean, and if you define us as a specialty tax consulting firm, are we limiting what we are? Should we be defined more of a organization that supports professional services firms to help them help their clients? Now, that doesn't say tax in it. It says we're supporting, and what else could we support with? And so probably the most pressing thing is we've had significant growth. I mean, since that change I told you about, that, the obviously managing partner role and everything, we were $2.5 million at that time. Last year, we were $30 million. So in a 6-year time, we had significant growth. And so when there's growth, I mean, you want to see, okay, what else can we do while still being true to who we are? Yeah. Because you can't, if you start going in these tangents that have nothing to do with where your skill sets and your passion for helping is, then you could lose yourself. So stay true to your identity with still figuring out ways to offer maybe a new service. Simple answer. IRS tax code came up with new incentives last year. We're building a new service offering around that, because that sticks true to us. It's a brand new service. Now, the investment tax credits instead of research and development tax credits, which we still do, and other credits and incentives. But now we have a brand new offering that fits into exactly who we are, that didn't exist for us 6 months ago. So being true to yourself, but don't be blind to opportunities, and you don't have to jump at every opportunity, but it fits in with what you're doing, go for it. And that's, I think, my mindset now is just looking for what those opportunities are and seeing if we're equipped to do that at the level that we do the rest of our services.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point. Focus is important, and that focus should be aligned with what the bigger vision and mission of what you're trying to create is, because otherwise you don't really have a benchmark for assessing opportunities. But also focus doesn't mean stagnation. So it doesn't
Right.
mean, well, we have a plan and we must stick to that plan come hell or high water,
Right.
because the rate of evolution nowadays means that you need to keep assessing what's coming down the road or up the road. Anyway.
One direction on the road, maybe
Yeah.
both directions we'll look at. There you go.
Indeed. So what you've said there is a good way to get that balance right, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely, if we're supporting professional services firms with our offering, and now all of a sudden we decide we're going to sell cameras, well, obviously that makes no sense. So make sure it somehow makes sense with what we're doing, but don't be so focused that you're not open to other opportunities. I guess that's maybe the succinct way of saying what I said before.
Mm. Do you know what actually has come up as a curiosity for me? Everyone's talking now about AI, right?
I was thinking
And
that. Yep.
coming from the accounting world, myself many years ago, a lot of it is sort of manual computation-based work, and then you've got more advisory work. How do you see AI impacting the tax and accounting world?
Yeah, I'm so by far I am not the expert on AI, although I have been reading a lot of at least posts on LinkedIn and other things, people I respect, and there's still it's here. It already can help in tax preparation. It already can start to just from a compliance standpoint, there's two different, in my mind, two different, and probably multiple, but two different main parts of tax. As a tax expert, I can be a compliance expert. I report what happened. I think AI can help with that right now because it can go find data for financial services from your banks, from these other things that can be then brought right in, and even read. It's getting to a point where apparently it can read documents if you let it. It won't do it on its own if you let it. Look, I'm talking to it about it like it's its own entity, which it kind of is, I guess. Yeah, but it'll do that. But the one part that is not, it can't completely do, and it may get to this point, but is the advisory. You got the compliance, you got the advisory. The advisory is affecting the bottom line tax. I'm going to help you reduce tax with a credit or incentive. I'm going to help you make sure you do tax correctly because now you're underreporting. So the advisory is the point where I think that more and more firms are going to rely on as a growth opportunity, because the compliance obviously anybody can do, and with AI coming, the compliance can become a lot more automated. So yes, I think the positive is it'll free up the tax professional to be the advisor, which is what their clients want. And a lot of times they don't even know it, but the clients want that advisory service. They don't want, and they don't know how to say it, but what they'll say is, hey, if we reduce my tax as much as possible, well, now what we're doing is let's figure out advisory opportunities that we could go save that. So yeah, it'll help with compliance. It's going to increase the need for experts on advisory.
I agree. I mean, and I think that could be crossed over to a few different industries, because it's the real value work that that requires creativity that will be harder to replace with AI.
Yep. And it is with a lot of professions, accounting profession in general is having a hard time getting people. We're losing people. There's not as many people going into accounting. So as much as we can do to increase our higher value, you said it, value services, by automating, that's going to be a huge opportunity for the profession.
100%. So, Randy, I'd love to know how you define strong leadership and how you see that high quality leadership impacting your business.
So, and I get this question a lot, and I honestly always think, well, am I really a leader? And people say, Randy, don't be an idiot. You are a leader. But I don't look at myself like that way. But what I do is I guess I try to just model good behavior is leadership to me. But one of the, if I try to dig deeper into it, I mean, there's three things, probably at least three things. Trust, trust that I'm there for you. I'm going to trust that you're going to get done what you need to get done. I'm going to trust if you can't get done what you need to get done, you're not going to hide it. You're not going to, feel like it's a sign of weakness if you have too much work right now, because it's not. We're all in this together. So trust going both direction, I think, is extremely important. Empathy, I think, is a great leadership, trait to have. If would I want to do that? How would I feel if I'm in that situation? That kind of thing. And then as a leader, I honestly think one of the biggest things you can do as a leader to gain the trust, to create an atmosphere where people are open, is be vulnerable. Don't, hey, look at me, I'm this rock and I'm working 80 hours a week and I'm not going to complain about anything. That just not, there is nobody like that. You have to be vulnerable. You have to show that you have weaknesses. You have to show that there's things that are stressing you, that don't have burnout be a stigma that's hidden. If you are working too hard and you can't keep up with what you're doing, don't be afraid to ask for help. So trust, empathy, vulnerability. And then now they have one more thing that just probably one of the biggest components of leadership in my mind that we exhibit as a firm is, we aren't our titles. We are our passions outside of work. If I tell you I'm a tax consultant, well, that's not who I am. I'm a hiker. I'm a craft beer enthusiast. I'm a basketball coach. That's all the things I am. I also happen to be a CPA that does tax work. But what we try to do is allow people to be their whole selves at work. And from a leadership standpoint, I think that's important. It just feels innate to me, but I think that's why we personally, we don't have turnover. We don't have problems finding people. And in reality, anybody that works here, and I'm sounding like I'm bragging, but anybody that works with us, they like rave about this company to their friends, to the point where, I mean, we have brothers and sisters working here, sisters and sisters, moms and daughters, best friends. We have, because they hear about the corporate culture that Tri-Merit has created, which I can't completely define other than those four things I said to you, and people want to be here. So I think it's extremely important. And our employees are first. People will say, the customers first. Employees are first, because if they're happy and they're excited about what they're doing, everybody's going to look at the customers and the clients as first too. So most important thing to us is the employees, the people we work with. That is going to go then to the next level, and they're going to exhibit that same behavior to our clients.
Yeah. And I think there's a quote from Richard Branson as well about how you should put employees first. But I want to just pick up on a few things you said. So number one, I see it fairly often in people that intuitively understand the kind of leadership that you were talking about. They often say, "Oh, I don't see myself as a leader." So that's kind of an interesting dynamic that I've seen come up again and again. But a leader is someone that understands how to get the best out of other people. And obviously, in your case, that has led to huge growth in 6 years, 2.5 million to 30 million. And you're still fast growing. I think I saw that you won an award last year for fastest growing company, right?
Yeah, we were one of the 5,000 fastest growing privately held companies in the U.S., and we will probably be on that list again this year because the growth is continuing. So yeah, thank you for pointing that out. It's I guess it's a point of pride, but it's not really it's more of a, hey, we're doing something right. It's not look at how hard we're working everybody, and so we're growing fast. No, look how much fun we're having, so we're growing, which is the pride I take.
Yeah, and I love that. And I think you do have a strong sense of corporate culture, because that corporate culture is premised on the values that you've outlined during this conversation as well.
Yep. If I can, sorry, and I know we got probably a time limit, but I want to add one thing to that. And so just to go a step further on the, being your whole self at work. I mean, we're remote. I mean, we have people all over the US, but we're a remote business for the most part. I mean, we have a small office, but not many people go there. And so creating that culture is important. And one of the things that we do on, let's say it's a business development call, every time we have a business development call, one of the 25 people on that call gets to spend 10, 15 minutes at the end of the call just telling everybody who they are, from here's my kids, here's the things I like doing, here's what I love this book, whatever it is. They just get to talk about all the passions that they have that are not work related. And I've learned so much about the people I work with from that I mean, I didn't know somebody was a professional motorcycle racer. Another person has art exhibited in museums. Another person is a fiddle player with bands. I mean, someone else is a singer in a band. These things, if we didn't have that kind of thing, it would just be there, the business development person there, the project manager there, and so getting to know people is so important.
Yeah. And I'm actually going to recommend a book for you called $1 Trillion Coach. It's about the coach that coached pretty much everyone important in Silicon Valley. And that's one of the points in the book as well, really getting to know people, their family, their passions, etc. Yep. So that's what that reminds me of.
If I can add to that, so a friend of mine, and we become friends after I knew about his book, but John Garrett wrote this book called What's Your And in parentheses. So, you are the CPA and you are the mountain biker. And that's the important part. I mean, the CPA part is important, but the mountain biker, that's where you get excited. That's where you get passionate, and somehow bringing that passion then into the office just rubs off on people. And so, John, I'm going to read the $1 Trillion Coach. And if anybody else is out there and wants to read What's Your And, I would highly recommend it. John Garrett, What's Your And? Okay.
Yeah, I like that. I like that suggestion.
Yep.
One final question, which I'm going to challenge you to answer succinctly.
You've already met me. I go on tangents.
Yeah, well, I'm going to challenge you. We'll see how we go. Right. What advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
I've actually got this question before. And here's what I've said in the past is I love where I am right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't want to affect the 20-year-old self that changes where I am. Now, I've had plenty of ups and downs. I've had things that I've gone through. I think I've learned from all those. I think I benefit from those. And so I look at this question more like, what would I tell my kids? Because I don't want to change where I am. Mm-hmm. And so I would tell my kids, follow your, and I've said this multiple times already today, follow your passions, follow your dreams. Don't be afraid to take chances. Know that there's going to be ups and downs, and don't get too low with the downs and don't get too high with the ups. Be steady with what you're doing, but overall, just love what you're doing. And if you don't, figure out a way to change it.
Amen. I feel succinct? That sums everything up. Yeah, no, it was succinct.
All right.
Randy, absolute pleasure to have this conversation with you today. Thank you very much. And for anyone listening, if you would like to be involved in the Leading in the Modern Way video interview series, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you, and bye for now.